back to that question about what does policing look like in the 21st century, because you are legitimate because you're trusted, but you have to be useful. You're only legitimate as an organisation if you're doing something useful. So we've got to make sure, and those of us that are in kind of leadership roles, make sure that the service is providing the services that you need to provide in the way you need to provide them in the 21st century to make you legitimate, and therefore people want to come and be part of that.
I just think that these the detective programme, as an example, that we run and Forces Own, are examples of bringing people into the service through different routes, where actually bringing people through a different model. So it's not just a single model with the same trainers, same university partner. Actually bringing people in through a slightly different route can actually be to the benefit of policing more generally. And so I guess I want to finish by saying, first of all, I think there are huge opportunities in Uplift, as Martin's already mentioned, and I think it's commonly believed in the service. There are opportunities to diversify our workforce in terms of both skills and visible diversity. There is the opportunity to embed new skills and practices and approaches into our workforce at volume. And there's the opportunity to solve some of our really critical workforce challenges that we're posed.
Research that I've previously conducted with new joiners to the policing organisation have confirmed all the other research in the area, which suggests that officers want to join the police in order to have an active job, an action-oriented career, to work in a team and to make a difference through community service. And for many of those who are leaving the police service, it was clear that their ability to do this was hampered. It was hampered by a reduced workforce, which meant there was increasing amounts of solo working, and also with workload pressures as well. So I think hopefully with a return to pre-budget cut numbers, this may enable some of those expectations of joining police officers to be met.
If we're talking about getting evidence-based policing into the mainstream, I don't think anything could be more mainstream for the past year than the goal of racial equity in policing, which I think requires an enormous amount of evidence, and about which evidence can be extremely helpful, even in just clarifying what we're talking about.
The caveat, I think, evidence-based policing and POP are experimentally based, and experiments are risky. This is the whole point about engineering. Engineers learn from errors. If something goes wrong, they fix it. And that means taking risks. I mean, they just landed a spacecraft on Mars, for heaven's sakes. That's science and engineering par excellence. And that kind of thinking of learning from errors and trying again, tweaking things until they do work is the basis of engineering. But to do that, you need to take risks and act independently and creatively on the ground. So when you're doing a POP project, you need the authority to take risks, and that requires trust. Senior staff need to delegate with confidence to junior staff to try things. And police management is pretty hierarchical. I think you need ambidextrous leadership, is what Vicky Harrington calls it, and I know she's in the audience. When there's a riot going on and the officer says, do X, you don't say, well, what about the evidence-based boss? That's just not right. But alternatively, when you're trying to solve problems, it is right to give discretion to the ground. So problem-oriented staff are more likely to discuss, argue, and take risks in problem solving.